Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 5 of the Hard Stuff podcast. In today's episode, I have on Evan Williams. Evan's got an awesome sense of adventure that I really admire. And we just had a great chat about different things he's done, and he's got some awesome stories. Now, just listening back, he started with a fairly intense story, and we're both kind of laughing. And it sounds a bit funny, him telling such an intense story. We're both laughing our head off. I mean, that's because I've known Evan for 20 years, and I knew the story ended well. Anyway, it's an awesome listen, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks. Evan Williams, how you going?
Good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
That's having me on, man.
I've got you on here today because I think you've got a similar call to adventure, I think I'd call it, as me.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the things I do, I feel stupid because they just seem grandiose and ridiculous. Then I hear some of the stuff that you're doing, I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And it kind of pumps me up to kind of do more adventurous stuff. What I wanted to start with, though, because I love the story, is if you could just dive into the birth of your latest child.
OC? Yeah, sure. So I guess OC's birth was our third child, me and Jess. So got to late term. I think it was bang on the 40 weeks, like to the day, and Jess, maybe put Poppy, the eldest kid, to bed, and then Jess started having a few contractions. So we thought, I'll ring the midwife because we had to go to hospital. And the midwife's on the phone for a bit. She's like, nah, it's all good. Like, you're ages away. Call me in a few hours. Call me back when things like progress a bit more. All right. So hang up the phone, and I've gone to take Bodhi, our other kid, to my parents' place just to get him out of the way because she's having contractions.
Yeah.
And got back inside 10 minutes later, and she's like, bloody ring the hospital back, ring the hospital back. And I think we got to come in, and she's like, what can you see? And I had a look, and I was like, I can see the baby's coming out already. Like, this is happening in 5 minutes. So Jess is on all fours on the lounge room floor and the carpet.
Yeah.
And she's just coming out.
Yeah. I don't know why that makes me laugh. It's a fairly serious situation, but it's just so intense.
Yeah.
So what happened?
It was lucky, like the midwife that was on the phone, she was actually our midwife. It was just by chance that this happened, but she was the midwife that delivered second child, Bodhi.
Yep.
So we had like a good relationship with her anyway, and she's like a legend. So
yeah.
She kind of like calmed me down a bit. She's like, oh, this is just how to gave me
So
instructions.
wait, well, what was your mindset like at that time?
I started freaking out, man. I was like, yeah. I was going, it's happening. Like, I can see ahead. Like, what do I do? And she's like, just calm down, man. Like,
what was Jess's state like?
Jess was just like, how like when it's like full labor there, just like into this another world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was just in her trance, like, like there's nothing, you can't even get her attention.
Yeah.
It's just, she's in her full focus of.
So what was the plan? You guys didn't plan to have a home birth, did you?
We wanted to have one.
Yeah.
But we tried to have one with our previous baby, but he came late. So then he ended up in hospital. And then we tried to be allowed to have one, this one for OC, but she had like a heart condition that they found early on. So then they didn't allow it to be a home birth. Even though
so this was Jess's kind of rebellion against the system.
Yeah, maybe. Or
like, I'll have a home birth. You can't tell me what to do. Yeah. So what happened?
So yeah, anyway, I'm freaking out, and then Emma, the midwife, she's calming me down a bit. She's rung the ambulance for us. And then she's going, okay, if you're just going to have to get back there, mate, and put some towels on the ground. And
is that how she put it?
Catch the baby. And what was freaking me out the most was like when a couple more contractions later, the baby's half out, but she's like, OC's still in her like fluid sac.
Yeah.
So so she looked like a big balloon. Like, so I was like, it's not a baby. I didn't know what it was. So I was like, it's not a baby. I think she's like birthing an organ or something weird, dude.
Oh my God. I hope you don't mind me laughing about it. It's just so intense.
It was intense, man. It was just like a big water balloon. And she's like, oh, that's fine. That can happen sometimes. You can either burst it now while the baby's still giving birth, or you can wait till she's come out and then like rip it off her face. I think.
And what did you choose?
So I was like, oh, I'm just going to leave it if it's fine. And then anyway, she came out, I caught her, and then the thigh kind of.
Wait, hold on, slow down. How quickly did she come out?
Oh, mate, it's 2 minutes. Like, yeah, it was so fast.
It's in the
It
hospital.
was like no time. There was no time to like even
Yeah.
consider like thoughts about it. It was just like it was on.
Okay, and what did you like catch it
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I just caught it and then
with your hand? Just bare hands?
Yeah,
Just raw dogged it? Sorry.
yeah, man, it was wild.
So hold on. So you caught it, and it's in a watery sack.
As she actually came out, the sack burst, but it was just like this all over it. So
Wait, before we go any further, I just want to make clear because we're laughing about this. Everything's okay. The baby's completely healthy now.
yeah,
She's
we
okay.
can laugh about it now.
Okay, good.
There was
Good.
plenty of crying about it.
Yeah.
for a
Probably should
while.
explain that before we started the story. Like,
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
so you caught the baby, and it's fully in the sack.
Yeah, so the sack burst, I think, around her body somewhere.
So you didn't
but I
have to
pulled
rip
it
it
off
open.
her face,
Yeah.
and then passed her over to Jess, but then that's when it got like really intense because she wasn't breathing, and she
Oh
wasn't.
shit.
Yeah, she was just blue, like anything like that. So
Oh,
like
God.
I think like because other babies, Emma's just like do the rub thing, like rub her, try to
Yeah.
stimulate her, get her to cry,
Yeah.
but she'd kind of make these occasional gurgling sound, but nothing was happening. So
Oh Jesus. Were you still on the phone?
yeah. So she's just on speakerphone on the lounge.
Yeah.
Ambulance weren't there yet. She's like, oh, you're gonna have to give her some breaths because she's like can't breathe
Oh my God.
because her heart rate was going. So I was just jumped straight into that, just giving her a few breaths.
Now, have you got like, I don't know how much it would help, but like, have you done your first aid and like did that?
Yeah, sort of did the first aid like years ago, but they don't really go on to babies really, other than like the simple thing of like tiny breaths and
Yeah.
if their heart's not beating, you do the tiny little things. But her heart was beating,
Yeah.
but it was just that she couldn't breathe.
I forgot about this part of the story.
Yeah, it was intense,
Yeah.
man. And then a few breaths, and that was kind of she was coming to a little bit, but not really, and you could tell she couldn't breathe.
Mm.
And the midwife's like, oh, she's probably got fluid in her lungs from how quick it all happened, or how quick the birth was and everything.
Yeah.
So she's like, you're just gonna have to try and suck shit out of her lungs through her mouth. So yeah, I've had to put my mouth over it and just suck up all this shit.
And you were getting?
Yeah. Yeah. And that was crazy, man.
How long did that?
Did that I had no conception of like the time.
You wouldn't, yeah.
It was just like I was just listening to Emma tell me stuff and I was doing it.
Because you were just like thinking you're driving to hospital and then all of a sudden you're in it.
Yeah, I'm in this situation that's
Oh my God.
like life and death.
Yeah.
Boy.
But not even your life and death, it's worse. Like it's
way worse.
Oh.
But time, like we weren't thinking about that. All at the time I was just, because of such a hectic thing, I think I was just fully in this zone of listening to what she told me to do, and I did it.
Yeah.
So
how was Jess at this stage?
Jess was just sitting there like against the couch, like she's just giving birth, like she's obviously.
And the kids still both in bed?
Yeah.
Thank God. That would have been so intense.
Yeah. Well, one kid was in bed and one kid was over at Granny and Pop's.
Yep.
That lived next door. But yeah, so we did the sucking thing, got some fluid out of her lungs, spat that out, and then
How'd it taste?
gross.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to throw that out there.
And then she kind of came to a bit, and then she was kind of, she cried, and then I put it back onto Jess, and she tried to feed straight away. And that was kind of it, man. Like,
and then what did you do?
Then I think
Did you just
we
like
were just sitting there,
collapse?
just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, for a few minutes, like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
And then Emma was still on the phone. She's like,
and there's nobody arrived at that point.
No. And then the ambulance arrived about 10 minutes later.
Yeah, it's because you live in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. And the ambulance, 3 ambulances just came screaming down the driveway. We live on this big property, so we've got like this long driveway, and there's just 3 ambulances coming, just like sirens going like up the driveway. And then
Surprised they didn't get
because
bogged.
Mum and Dad live on the property too, another house. So Mum's come because she thought
But they didn't even know what was going on.
No, they didn't know because I dropped them off thinking that
You
Jess was in labour, nothing, this kind of thing.
Oh my God.
And then she's seen 3 ambulances rock up and they've gone, what's happened? So that Mum's come like running in the door. You've seen a baby on the ground. Fuck. Yeah. But yeah, then the Ambos, I mean, they were all like, turned out they were all like kind of students, and they were just fluffing about a bit and not really,
Mm.
not really.
You'd already done the hard work, mate.
Yeah, I know. But then
You could teach them taught them a thing or two.
Turned out she got like a bit of pneumonia and stuff
fucking
from being
hell.
cold, from not
Yeah.
like being wrapped up, because like she was all wrapped up on Jess, and they got there and then they took her and tried to do things, but they didn't really need to do that kind of stuff.
So did you end up going to hospital after that?
Yeah, sent them to hospital, and then as they do in hospitals, they do too many sort of checks and stuff, and we ended up there for a few days. But
So do you think that experience? Sorry, mate. Do you think that experience affected you emotionally over the next few weeks?
oh yeah, probably still to the day, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's really heavy, man. Like
It is, yeah. As much as we laugh about it, fuck, it would have been so
it's good to laugh about
intense.
it, but there's a lot of times I've thought about it, and you think about
Well,
bad things that could have happened instead of what did happen.
The stakes are so high.
Yeah, stakes are high. I mean, the good thing about it is that I did get to see like how me and Jess both reacted in something as heavy as that.
Yeah. Well, it's not really a test drive. It's not really like, we just wanted to see how we'd react just in case something happened. No, that's something happening.
But you think about that. Sometimes I wonder how I would be in a situation not that particular situation, but heavy situation.
Yeah, you fantasize about how you would deal under extreme amounts of pressure, and then you do it, and you give yourself a bit of a pat on the back.
Yeah, but then it just traumatizes you for months.
Yeah, that's the next.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it's definitely a life-changing one.
What do you like? Do you think it like gave you a bit of, I don't know, depression or something? Like how do you reckon it's affected you?
No, I think it's probably driven me more to just chase the things I want to do in life more than anything else. Like, I mean, like it just gave me a sense of like how fragile life is, right? And how important, I guess, raising your kids are, and being there for your kids and all that sort of stuff.
Well, I went on a podcast like 2 days ago, somebody else's podcast, and spoke about this, like my journey through starting the business and then getting to a point where I was working 70, 80 hours a week. This is when like the girls were young. I was barely home, just like, felt alone. And then that's when I started having like panic attacks and stuff, because like I was getting migraines all the time. And I was so stressed out, and you just get to a point going, what am I actually doing?
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to make money to provide everybody bang on about this all the time, but I'm trying to make money to provide an awesome life for my family. Yet I'm never home. Yeah. I'm miserable. What's the actual point? What's the purpose of this?
That's it. And like when is that awesome part going to happen? Like if you just keep
a lot of people would die. A lot of people would never happen. And that's one of the things that kind of, I don't know, I like hearing about your story, because once you see other people doing things and they're going like that seem kind of outrageous, and you think that, you can't do that. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
So,
and even like there's different levels, like you want to do something in life as a goal, whether it's with your family or whatever, and you might not be able to achieve that because of financial reasons, but is there another way you can do it that's a little bit looks a little bit differently than the lavish way, which perhaps
and will the lavish way even make it any better?
Yeah, true.
So I haven't spoken to you about this for a bit, but like, are you still planning to do the Sail the World?
Yeah, 100%.
So what's the plan?
That's my dream now, is to, well, I guess I was chasing, like, since, when I met Jess, my wife, I was kind of in that solo travel around the world mode. And
where were you? Weren't you in, you were in London?
I'd just come back from South America.
Good. Yeah. Whenever I think of you and hear the word travel, I always think about a photo that I saw of you, I think on a big swing in Ecuador. No. I thought there was a few more photos I could have brought up, but this one's about a big swing in Ecuador in the
in the jungle or something.
Yeah.
So I did a solo backpacking trip through there in my mid-20s, and that was kind of very different to, I guess, how I see travel now. But I got so many life lessons from it. But I mean,
what's the difference? Like, what's the difference? Because I think some people have the mindset of, my brother's very like this. Like when you have kids, all that's over. Do you know what I mean? And basically, you're screwed for 18 years, which I think is ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. Because I mean, you still got to have your happiness and your freedoms and all those sort of things. And I think travel for me now looks different in that I want to pursue more challenging physical things abroad, whether it's mountaineering or this idea of sailing around the world. And when we had our first kid, Poppy, I was really intent on doing some mountaineering courses and going chasing high peaks.
Yeah. I'll do that with you.
But then, and I'm still keen to do that. But I think that goal is a little bit selfish for me right now with the kids being young, because when you do an expedition like that, you're away for probably a month.
Yeah.
On a mountain without kids,
Yeah.
And that's probably a bit much to ask for.
Gets a lot.
This isn't it?
Especially at the age, it's a hard age.
Yeah. So when they're older, it's fine. When they're all at school or something, I can surely do that. But I came to the idea of the sailing thing. I think I saw it on YouTube, a family sailing around the world, and that kind of drew me in because it's like a real connective. Like I've been learning to sail at the local racing club, and I've been crewing for like these race boats and stuff. And there's a lot to it. It's a lot of mental engagement. There's a lot of thinking. There's a deep connection to nature. It's challenging. It's physical. There's all those things, but buy a big enough boat, you can put your whole family on there, and you can do it in a slow way. You can work along the way, or you can do. There's so many different ways you can. You can see that now.
So is the first thing that pops into my head was Jess interested, or
she's very interested in doing a year away. I don't think she's too fussed about how that looks.
Okay.
And she definitely wasn't fully on board the sailing thing, because in my head, the way I thought it would have to happen would be sell the house, sell everything, and buy a $500,000 boat and go. But since like researching as much as we can and talking about it more, we think we've found a way that we can buy something a lot cheaper, rent the house out, and we still be cost neutral, so we still won't have any cost if we rent a house out and buy something under a certain price range. And then start with Australia, where if we travel from here up the east coast into the islands and all that sort of stuff, but take our time and do, some work along the way, whether it's work online.
I thought the initial plan was you were going to go to the Mediterranean.
Yeah, I thought I still really want to do a whole circumnavigation of the world. I think as a first step, I think if we do Australia, because we can keep our house, we can still have the freedom of no income stress. Be cheap, and we can pick up little jobs along the way. Into the first year in Oz, and then if we really love that whole lifestyle and that way to do it, then we might consider upgrading and doing a big multi-year world loop. Because a world loop, if you're taking your time, seeing everything you can, taking some breaks over off seasons and that sort of thing, it could probably take you 5 years.
Easy. Yeah.
So instead of just jumping straight into that, which I would be 100% in for. My wife's some more conservative, which is probably why we're a good fit, I guess. But that's I think a good start is to let's stay reasonably local in Australian waters.
So what does that look like? Where exactly do you start?
Well, I'm going to fly in Newcastle next week or two and have a look at a boat. So if there's one up there that looks pretty interesting, it's a catamaran that's big enough for a whole family and probably an extra crew member when we do overnight passages and that sort of stuff. So
what do you mean by that? An overnight crew member?
So when you're going from point to point, like some like sails might take you even a week. So like full time, you need people on night watches and that sort of stuff. So when there is those multi-day things, we'll get crew members on board, and there's a big community around the world of people just looking to crew. And
so they can get places.
You just get to places or just get experience on boats. And
so when if you're doing the whole world, what does that look like? You do it with multiple families, or?
Well, there's apps and communities of families sailing, so they'll have their own boats. But a lot of people bring on crew members to help with running of the boat, sailing, and that sort of thing. There's overnight passages. Say you're in the Mediterranean, if you're going to do a passage to, what's that, that whole coast to get to America, the Atlantic crossing or something.
Yep.
That's like 10 days. So 10 days and 10 nights. So people often get a couple of extra people on board.
So how many kilometers would that be? Just so I can get some.
Oh, I don't know, 5,000 or something.
Yeah. Okay.
Nautical miles. I don't know. Kilometers. Yeah, I don't know.
Times the
I don't know what their
1.6.
exact
Yeah.
measurements are, but
Yeah.
lots of days.
Yep.
So you can be at sea for 10, 20 days and some things, but
So would you start from Australia?
yeah, well, that depends. Like if we do the Australian thing, we'll probably upgrade a boat to something a bit more
Okay.
suitable for
Yep.
like ocean crossings, something a bit safer and stronger and a
Yep.
bit better.
Yeah.
And then in that case, if we do that, then we'll just hunt around wherever we find the best deal in the world. So it could be like
Yeah. So you could sell the one that you.
yeah. So there is a lot of boats for sale in the Mediterranean because it's a big popular area for it.
Yep.
But there's also a lot in like the Caribbean, like Florida coast, like that east coast of USA.
Yeah.
That's also a popular spot. So
Yeah.
there's lots of places.
So
And then like wherever you find a deal, you just start there, right?
yeah. So what does the
Yeah.
Australia trip look like if it's a year? Like
It could be whether it's like for example, if I get this boat in Newcastle, I'll decide whether I just leave it there for a few months before we go, or whether I sail it back to Adelaide and then have the time to go and fix it up over a 6-month period or something. So we might leave from here, might leave from the East Coast.
Yep.
And it's probably just cruising all up the East Coast and visiting the islands and
you live in the boat.
yeah.
So and then you can just pull up somewhere.
Yeah. So that's
anchor up.
Yeah, it's a beauty. It's like most places is free because you can anchor.
Right.
There might be the occasional time where you need to go into marina and it costs a little bit of money, but
Yep.
Generally you can anchor places and we have a little dinghy to get to the shore and
Yeah.
I don't know. Have some
So how
fun.
big's the boat?
This one's 43 foot. So catamaran, 2 hulls, big central area.
Yeah. So what's that? 15 meters, 12 meters?
Yeah, 15-ish, I think.
Yeah.
15. Yeah. So it's pretty big. I mean, it's like with
It's
2
huge.
hulls. Good catamarans is like, if we wanted a single hull boat, they're cheaper, but you'd want for a family, you want something over 54, which is hard to handle because of the size of your sails needed and everything to get the boat moving.
And that's for
It's very difficult
stability,
to-
is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also like moves a lot more.
So how much
So
does
not as
how much does a
comfortable.
boat like that cost? I suppose it depends on the condition and,
Yeah, it
and what
depends
you're
a lot
willing
on
to
the
do to it.
conditions.
Yeah.
So mono hull, like single hull boats can be, something family suitable. You could pay anything from 80 grand to like $1 million.
Yeah.
And then catamarans, this one that I found is from the 80s, so it's really old. That one's about 100. Go up to buy a good world cruising one, you probably start at 500, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So a lot of families that do working like via Starlink, like one of these world cruising families.
Yeah.
So they either work with like doing YouTube, or a couple that
A lot of them do.
couple
Yeah.
I follow do like have their own businesses that they still operate from their boat via Starlink, and that's
It's getting easier and easier
Mm.
these days. I guess it just depends on how many hours a day do you want to work while you're doing it.
and then like that's still a job trying to run a boat too, right? So
Yeah.
and look
So
after
what's your
kids.
plan?
Yeah, I don't know.
Buy the boat.
I think we're going to just buy the boat, try and just be debt free. So have our debt covered by rent and that sort of stuff.
Yep.
That's the main goal at the moment.
Yep.
So then we
So
don't have,
become income neutral. So you get to
Yeah.
keep the house.
Mhm.
That it doesn't really matter. But are you looking at principal and interest or just interest only?
we'll probably just if we can just do that. I think you can do a few years, change it over to interest only for a few years.
The problem is they sting you a couple of percent now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
of
We'll see how that works, but
Yeah.
it looks like at the moment we can rent out as is, with some extra drawn out for a boat
yep.
and be cost neutral. So
Yeah, okay.
and
And-
just
and
ditch our
then-
car loans and then go.
So, well, I would imagine that would be the more difficult thing in Australia because the cost of living is so much higher. Like if you're sailing a year in the Caribbean, I would imagine that the cost of living would be significantly lower. So if I guess it'd be harder to work. I'm not really via Starlink because I'd imagine, you need a lot more money to live if you're doing the Australian East Coast, whereas if you're doing,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think If
go
you
buy a
don't
bunch of
have
bananas.
costs, I mean, obviously you've got like a bit of fuel costs every now and then when you're motoring your boat or whatever.
Yeah.
You got your food costs, but you don't really have, other than maintenance, you don't really have like.
I'm talking about just for food, I guess.
Yeah. But then once, same thing around the world, once you're in like the Pacific Islands or somewhere really remote, food prices are going to be expensive.
Yeah.
Unless you live off fish and fruit that you find on coconuts on the beach or something.
Is that the plan?
But
You're going to become a forager?
yeah,
Yeah, nice.
just spear everything. Yeah.
So when's that happening?
We're hoping to be October 25 now. We're hoping to leave.
Okay.
So we're looking to buy something very soon. So hopefully January.
Yep.
And then spend.
How long would it take to get it from Byron Bay to here?
It's in Newcastle.
Sorry, Newcastle.
But I think about 3 weeks, three weeks or so if we hightail it.
Yep. And you do that with the family or by yourself?
I'll probably do that. I'll probably get just some help to do that.
Yep.
Whether I do it in a couple of stints or no, I'm not sure yet.
Yep.
But it would be ideal if we could get it back here, because then I can spend like a day or two a week.
Yeah.
Like fixing it up, getting it ready and getting comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Do little weekend trips with the family, go to KI, go to Yorks and go to Port Lincoln and all those little weekend length trips.
Yeah.
And figure out how that's going to work before we just go.
Just doing 5 years around the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a wild idea.
Yeah.
Could never convince Jess to do anything like that.
I don't know if I'm there yet, but I'm hoping that, I'm there myself, but I don't know that my wife's there yet. But I think this trial run, if it all just goes the way I'm thinking it'll go.
Yeah.
They're gonna
which is like perfect, like sunshine in the background. Kids get better, like get along. All right.
Yeah, at the moment, if you look at like my kids' dynamics, it's like probably would have thrown Bodie overboard like day one, I reckon. And anyway, we'll see how it goes, man.
So another thing that kind of, I don't know, I fall into the mindset sometimes of, let's say with the business, right? Like I've come so far with the business that I feel like I'm stuck in it forever.
Mm.
Whereas it seemed like you guys had a very successful business. From looking from the outside anyway, I mean, what was the decision to wrap that up? Was that around after that was before?
It was, I guess one of the main reasons we decided to wrap it up was because OC was coming, a third kid.
Yep.
And me and Jess were both so heavy in the business.
So it was demanding, was it?
It was demanding. It probably didn't have to be, but we couldn't let other people take control, I don't think. Was
that because they wouldn't be capable, or because it was an internal battle for you?
I think it was like not so much for me, I think more so for Jess, more so like, it was her thing that she's created, or our thing that we've created.
Yeah.
So I think it was hard for her to let go of control. And
it's
for
a
me, in
very common problem. I mean, I had an experience probably about 6 weeks ago now, maybe. It was a couple of weeks, well, about a month before the Ironman, where I was so stressed out. I was training for the Ironman. I had a few personal issues going on, plus a few huge work issues going on, and I could feel myself like burning out. I was burning out. I could feel my neck was getting bad. I was on the brink of, I guess, what you could call a nervous breakdown or something like that. And I think it was like a Thursday night, and I just went, I'm not doing this. Like, this is not, it's not worth it for me. Like, I'm not sending myself into another loop of stress. I'm meant to be doing an Ironman in a few weeks. So I made the decision that I'm not going into work for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Just like then and there. And I said, I'm going to delegate literally everything. So I started doing that. And then like all my deep fears of the world crashing down didn't really happen. So I think with the business now, like if I want to.
So do you think you had to be pushed to that limit to make that decision to let go of it?
Well, I've been pushed to that limit so many times. It's definitely a cycle, right? And I think I'm getting better at that cycle, because I think up until literally probably the last 6 months, I had such a obsession with material wealth being the key to happiness, right? And then you go enough of those cycles, whereas I need to hit this amount of money and then I'll be happy. And then you get to that point and nothing changes. I've hit enough of those cycles now that I'm trying to split up my happiness and then my material success. I think they're two very different parts of my life. And I think I joined them together at my own peril, consistently putting all my eggs in the basket of when I'm a successful entrepreneur, then I'll be happy. But like whenever I think that way, I just get to the point where I hate my fucking business. I'm so stressed out. I'm not present with the kids.
Yeah.
And, I think we briefly touched on this before we started recording. It's like, this is why I love talking to you, because, I think you naturally have that sense for adventure. Whereas for me, it builds up and then I just go, oh, fuck it, I'm signing up for an Ironman. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, I'm trying to, I've been meditating a lot lately. I've been trying to, I put my business kind of in non-growth mode. So just kind of turning the wheels a bit.
Yeah. That's and
the other thing is like, I put so many eggs in the business basket. About 12 months ago, a bunch of things went wrong, and I just found myself in like hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt and like a really bad position. And we've had like the toughest year financially over the last 12 months. I don't even know where I was going with that.
But do you think like that? I mean, I've thought about this a bit with that whole mindset of, working hard to be successful and all those things. And I really think it comes from like our father's generations. Like, I don't know if it was like that, but I grew up very conservative, and my family, like my dad ran his own business for his whole life.
Yeah.
And before that, his dad did too.
Yeah.
And his dad and him ran business together with his other brothers and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it was like from a young age, like for me, it was work, get the house as soon as you can, all that stuff, settle down.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. Like my first house was when I was like 18.
Yeah.
And like,
so,
but then I guess since I did that first gap year of travel, then that's what put me completely 180.
Yeah.
And
I think what's the opposite to abundance? The mindset of there was a big the scarcity mindset back then, right? And I watched so my mum never worked, so it was only my dad, and he was a workaholic. I watched him work himself to the bone my whole childhood, but we never got anywhere. And then he started his own business. After all our kids were a bit older, and he finally kind of maybe got somewhere, and then he when the divorce happened, and he fucking lost everything and started again, and that's when I started the business, and his business is ashes and all this blah, blah, blah. But I watched that and go, he busted his fucking gut his whole. He just got screwed at every level.
That's what I mean. Like, so why do we continue to do
that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you can't
it's like a recurring thing.
Yeah. Well, I also had this conversation the other day with someone. Like, I'm starting to value, I guess, like, I think in the early days of the business, I was so obsessed that I didn't put any value in my own kind of mental health. And I was always so stressed. And now it's at the point where it's like, if I can't grow the business while maintaining a good mindset and being present with the kids, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. And it's like,
so that's where you guys were at with the other business.
Yeah. So that's why we sold that, because we realized, I mean, it wasn't doing our relationship much good running that business, the event stuff. And, it was really busy and it was like financially great and everything. But we were both so stressed, and we were both, it was just like there was no disconnect there's no separation of me between business and like family life, because our business was run from home. So if ever we had a conversation, it was about work. And then I guess that dynamic wasn't working for us as a relationship. And then with the third baby on the way, I thought, if we can't let go of control and bring in people to help us run this business, then how...
Did you attempt to do that?
We talked about doing it, but the way we had structured and set up, like, we were pretty like price competitive with other people. So there wasn't really a lot of money to be putting people in those positions.
Yeah, you were running extremely. It's a very common story.
Yeah.
Like, you're running extremely efficiently. You bring other people on, you've got to raise your prices. So you basically got to somehow change like you're at a ceiling because you've got to basically completely change your product
Yeah.
and everything to be able to, go into that next price
exactly. And
point.
we
And
also couldn't do.
you've got to go in deeper before you can.
Yeah. And we also couldn't bring people on to do the amount of work that, so I was doing on a weekend or Jess was doing either. So, we just decided that maybe it was time to sell it, and we did that, and it was great.
Yeah.
So we sold it, and then OC came, I think, 3 or 4 weeks after we settled.
Did you sell it in one hit? The business?
We had it for sale. One person, it didn't really work out. I think Jess had to advertise privately for a bit, but she wasn't really that salesy person, either am I.
Yep.
So we ended up finding this broker that was great, and she sold it within like 2 weeks.
Really?
She sold it really quick, and she was awesome.
Did you get what you want for it?
Yeah, we did. And she was also like an accountant background. She was really good at like selling like the numbers side of what the business was, rather than just what the services we provided.
It's hard business to sell because it is. Oh, not really. It's one of those things where it's like you got to find the right person because it is such a owner operated business.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But we had developed like pretty good commercial clients and corporate clients in that like function and that space and that retail activation space.
Do you know how the valuation was done? Can you dive into that, or is that nothing you do? So
it's more just
gotcha. Yeah.
So once we sold that, OC came, and then we had, we have our B&B that we continue to run, but other than the B&B, I think all together without doing any work.
Yep.
Other than looking after the property and the B&B. So
that
was a good time to reset and connect back to the family. But then, you get to the point where wife started to tell me to go and do something else.
Yeah.
Go to work.
Well, she was sick of you, or you need the money?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know I'm glad we got rid of that, and we'll do more businesses again in the future, and we've got a couple in the pipeline now. But yeah, I think now my focus is on how do we create this lifestyle that we want to do, even if it's temporary.
What are you optimizing for? Basically, lifestyle design, and if a business fits into that, then great.
Yeah.
Whereas,
I just have this huge stress now about not living, like, you know what I mean? Like,
you've struggled with that for the last 10 years. I swear every time I see you.
I'm just so anxious to go do something like.
Well, I've always said, one of my biggest fears is getting to 50 and looking back and going, oh, that was a waste. Like I didn't do anything that I wanted to do.
Yeah. And you can always work too. What?
Yeah.
Well,
but that's the problem. I don't know whether we spoke about this before we started recording, but with the business, like, there's such a fear of, what's that fallacy called? Like the spent cost fallacy. Like I'm in so deep with the business.
Yeah.
I'm so scared about anything happening to it because I've come this far. Like,
so you feel like that would be a big loss.
Yeah. And big loss. And also like, if I ever wanted to try something else, like the first 5 years of the business was so brutal. There's just like such a deep fear of ever having to go through that again, Yeah.
There's also probably lessons in there that, not necessarily.
Definitely. 100%. Yeah. So I think the lessons you learn through business are so valuable in every aspect of your life. I've said this before. I say it too much. People are probably sick of it, but I think business is fundamentally entrepreneurship is self-development disguised as wealth creation. I think the personal growth that you get from developing a business, having to, deal with employees and stuff like that.
Yeah, it puts you out of your comfort zone in many different levels.
Yeah, constantly. Yeah. Tell me about the kayak to Kangaroo Island. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, that was good fun.
Where did that come from?
Well, I played footy my whole life.
Yeah.
And getting too old and playing footy too old and too fat, I blew my knee out.
Yeah.
Did my ACL. And I was just searching for something to do while I couldn't run, because I found myself getting grumpy for not being able to exercise and getting fat. So
And you run now or you still can't run?
I got back to running recently, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so feeling a lot better mentally.
Yep.
Yeah. But that was the second time. So this is a few years ago now that I did the kayak. So yeah, it was Christmas time was coming up. I'd done my knee. I'd had my surgery, but I wasn't anywhere near back to running. So I came up with a little trip to do I called it Kangaroo, where we live, to Kangaroo Island. And I ran down, I didn't run, I rode my bike and I walked from home, which is up in Kangaroo, through the gorge and down to the beach.
Yeah.
And my wife met me at the beach and then we kayaked all
I
along.
didn't know you did that walk. How long is that walk?
It was a few hours.
Yep.
Yeah, probably half a day.
Okay.
Yeah. All through the Onkaparinga National Park and
Yep.
Down the back of here pretty well.
Yep.
Yeah, so I did that and then wife met me at the beach with my kayak, and over a few days I kayaked the whole mid-coast to Cape Jervis. And it wasn't really like an expedition. I'd sort of kayak for the day, and where I would end up, my wife would come pick me up and then we'd go stay at an Airbnb somewhere.
Yeah.
And we had a couple of little kids and it was Christmas time, so
Yeah.
it was a little bit of a holiday mix with some doing something different. So it took me a few days to get down to the coast, and I was going to cross to KI the next day, but the weather was horrible. And that stretch of water is pretty
It's brutal.
notorious to get gnarly.
Yeah. I think it's been swum a couple of times, which blows my mind.
Has it? Wow.
Yeah.
So it's about, well, the kayak that I did was 19 Ks across. So
Oh, was it?
yeah,
Okay.
from Cape Jervis.
Yeah, I
to
think people have
Penashores.
swum it in, okay, it's got to be like 10 or 12 hours. So how long did that take, 19 Ks?
So I did it in under 3 hours, but I didn't do it that first time because the weather was so bad. So we actually crossed to KI in the car and did a bit of a holiday. And then
3 hours, that's quick.
a few days later, we came back and I was going to get the ferry back, and it was a perfect morning. So I was like, oh, screw it, I'll just kayak back.
Yeah.
Because that's what I planned to do anyway. And jumped in and it was awesome. So
Oh, you kayak back from...
back from KI instead of across. Yeah.
Oh, so you... Yeah, okay.
So I did the coast to where I was going to go across, but the weather was too bad to do it. So
How was it? Was it freaky or anything?
when I did it, it was eerie because it was so and that water's meant to be kind of rough and swelly and deep and dark,
Could you always see both lands?
there's right in the middle is really hard to see. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a misty. It was dead calm, like glass. Like it was not even like a ripple kind of thing. So stuff would like float past you in the water. It was like I think a sort of squid head just like float past, and I thought that's been much.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it was weird because it was just so calm and then kind of misty.
Was it physically demanding or
no?
Yeah,
I mean, you can take your time.
Chill.
I mean, you can try and be, you can try and go as fast as you want, but just at a good 7K an hour pace, it was a bit under 3 hours.
Have you heard of those guys? They're pretty young at the time, and they kayak from Australia to New Zealand.
The last guy that tried to do that died.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
So I went to an event where this guy spoke. It was him and his mate, and they built a custom kayak. One of them would sleep in the back, and the other would be in the front rowing.
That's crazy.
It's fucking mad. Well, the crazier thing is what they did next. I got to put his name, James Casserson. I'm going to fuck it up. Anyway, he wanted to be the first. They wanted to be the first two to go from land to the North Pole. South Pole or North Pole? There is no North Pole, is there? No, there's not.
It's not in the Arctic.
Isn't the Arctic South Pole?
No, that's Antarctic. The south one's a South Pole. Antarctica is a South. Yeah.
And there's an Arctic at the North Pole?
Yeah, this is stuff at the bottom of the water.
Yeah, but I thought it was just water on top.
No, it's ice up there too.
Okay. Yeah. So, I'm pretty sure it was South Pole. And what they did, they wanted to be the first people on foot to go from the coast to the South Pole and back to the coast by foot and carrying sleds.
Yeah, cool.
And he told the story, and it was fucking crazy.
Yeah. There's another Australian guy, he's a vet or a doctor or something, Jeff Wilson. He does wild expeditions like that.
Yeah.
He does all these he takes sleds in, I think it's more the Arctic ones.
Yeah.
Like he'll get a sled and a kite and he'll do like a 30-day trek in the snow trying to get somewhere random from coast to coast or something.
Yeah, and I don't know if I want to. I think that kind of stuff would interest me a few years ago, but I don't know if like
Yeah.
it's too death defying. And I feel like it's quite irresponsible with 3 kids.
Yeah. And also, I'm not attracted to that being the first to do something either. Like it's more just like, you know, you can go somewhere that a million people have been before and it's still an adventure for you, right? So
Yeah, 100%.
and it's still
Well, yeah.
you know, you can climb a mountain that's still really amazing experience for yourself.
Yeah, it's a bit
Doesn't mean you have to
it's a
be
bit
the
egotistical, isn't it?
first.
Yeah.
There's always someone trying to find a slightly different way to do the same thing
So they
or the first thing, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, the kayak was fun. I don't know. I didn't think too much of it, to be honest. It was just something to get me moving again after an injury that had got me down.
Yeah, I was kind of jealous.
Yeah.
I thought I'm going to do it there and back to prove a point.
You probably could do it there and back in the day.
I think I could. What type of kayak did you use? I've just got the fishing.
I just used it's a sea kayak, but just one of the cheap plastic ones.
Yeah.
Like $1,000 one.
Yeah.
But yeah, my old man's just signed up to do. Him and his mate are doing the whole length of the Murray. Next year. So
that takes ages. Who's doing that? Sorry,
my dad.
Oh wow.
And his mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
so how long does that take? Doesn't it take 6 weeks?
8 weeks or
8 weeks?
Yeah. So they're going to start in, I think it's September. So I'm hoping it works out after our trip to the snow next year that I might be able to join them for a section of it.
Yep.
But yeah, they're doing that. But I mean, I don't know if that's that hardcore either. It's just floating down the
river.
It's
not hardcore. It's cool, I guess.
Yeah, it is cool. And it's a long way. So it's a long time. Like it's a long time. 8 weeks is a long time to sit in a.
Well, how'd your back go during yours? Because I'd take out the fishing kayak and my back kills me in like 5 minutes. Yeah.
That's why I'm glad I did those few days before too. Like I did more kilometers those other days.
Yeah.
Just paddling down the coast. But I guess that got me a bit more conditioned to crossing too.
It sounds funny, but that was the hardest part of the Ironman. The 6.5 hours on the bike. I just couldn't get comfy. In the last like 2 hours, my back was just in
6.5 hours on the bike.
Yeah. The last 2 hours, my back and my neck were in so much pain because you're down on the tri bars, right? So you're just looking up the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that, man. I had your little tracker thing on my phone.
Oh, you were watching it? Yeah.
And logged on when I woke up that morning, and it hadn't started yet because it was like a 3-hour delay from Perth.
Yep.
So like not long after I got up, you started the race, and I was like checking it all day, and I reckon I went to bed, man. Checked it when I went to bed. I was like, he's still going, and he's had like 10 minutes off the whole day.
Yeah.
I was like, heck, when you start thinking about it, I've gone through my whole day.
Yeah.
And I've checked it multiple times, and you're just pounding away.
It was 12 hours and 44 minutes. It's a long day.
I was like, that was what blew me away the most out of like, not seeing the numbers, but just reflecting on my day and what I did was so lazy, but I'm tired and gone to bed early, but just still pounding it away. Doing an Ironman, like that, crazy.
Yeah, I spoke to, here I go diminishing it, but I spoke to somebody, I actually think ultra races, ultra running, ultra marathons are harder. Because you get that, like, yeah, I just released a podcast talk like yesterday, or just made a podcast about the whole thing, so I'm probably going to bore everyone here, but the swim, the weather was so brutal. Like and it just happened to be like a really choppy day. And like by the time you get out of the water, you're just so relieved to be out of the water on the bike. And then, once you finish the bike, because it's 6.5 hours, you're just kind of relieved. So you get those little like relief points.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it was crazy. Even like your running speed was fast.
I came out strong. I was actually, like when I came out, it looked like I was going to do like a 3:45 marathon. And then I just crashed in the last 2 10K laps.
Yeah.
For like a real drudgery.
Yeah. It was still, your average time was pretty good for you.
Yeah, it's 4 hours 13 marathon, which is, I think,
after everything else.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah. So I think it started at like 5-minute splits and then it got to like 7-minute splits by the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was following another guy who's he lives over in Port Lincoln now, but I knew it from footy.
Yeah.
And that was his first one as well. We did the half one in Cairns last year.
Have you spoken to him?
Haven't spoken to him yet, but I was tracking him as well. And he just smashed the swim so fast. I couldn't believe it.
What did he do? The half or the full?
He did the full one.
Yeah.
But he did the swim in like an hour and a minute.
Yeah, okay. I'd be interested to hear what his thoughts about the conditions were, because for me, the swim was fucking hectic. It was so hectic. I think I drank so much water.
But then his training too, like I'd follow on Strava, and his training was like ocean swims in Port Lincoln. Like that's gnarly, basically.
Yeah, well, you're just dodging sharks.
Yeah.
Yeah, training was full on. But the problem with training is, like I said before, like managing training while being stressed out at work and having it was just hard balancing everything. I think it'd be a lot easier if you maybe had an easy job and you worked. I don't know.
Or if you had a family.
Yeah, must be nice.
What did how do you find the balance of like getting that family time in on top of a busy business and that training too?
Really shit, actually. I think like the early stages were good, but the last like let's say 6 to 8 weeks of training, I was really stressed at work. I had some things going on and I wasn't sleeping properly, so I wasn't recovering properly. So then I wasn't getting up in the morning because at the start of it, I was waking up before everybody else and then running, and then I would still get the family time at night because the kids go to bed. And then by the end of it, I was just like so exhausted I couldn't get out of bed in the morning. Then I'd go do a full day's work and then I'd train when I get home, and then it ended up getting really shit. Like I said this to someone, like I think doing another Ironman, I have no problem with the actual day, as weird as that sounds, but the training block, it's
especially
brutal.
training so long for one day.
Like,
I mean, my history of like sports is like team sport, right? So you train 2 or 3 times a week and you go play on the weekend and you play every week.
Yeah.
But it's like you're training for so long.
It's also like some of the trainings, it just gets monotonous. You know what I mean? Like just swimming for like an hour. You're like, ugh. At the start, it's enjoyable. It's killed. This is what happened after the 777. It killed my love for it. I haven't trained since at all.
I was going to ask you that if you're frothing for more or not really.
Nah, I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
I'm going to commit to having 6 months off. Like I'll still maintain some level of fitness. And then I'll make a decision because Sean wants to do Ironman Taupo, like New Zealand in 2026, which is March. And take the whole family up there and have a couple of week holiday. But I'm not ready.
It's a pretty wild train, wouldn't it? Wouldn't be flat like Bussington, would it?
Apparently the run's flat, but the ride's meant to be really hilly and it'd be freezing. And the swim's in a lake. So I think.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I think it'd be too bad. It's right in the middle of the North Island.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Nice, man.
You still planning to do your adventure app?
Yeah. So we were going to launch it last year after we had the break with OC Inborn and selling the other business.
Yep.
But I guess over time when we were building the business, or building the idea for that business, like my ideas for it changed quite a bit.
So where are you at with it? What is the idea?
Well, originally I was going to be offering some adventure-based tours in this like Fluoro region.
Yep.
So hiking and mountain bike riding and some water sports mixed in with winery visits or lunch or whatever. Fun little day things. But as it kind of got built out, I really didn't want to be doing that anymore.
You're locking yourself
into being a tour guide kind of thing. That wasn't me.
I'm very conscious about that now. Like, what am I committing to?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What am I getting myself into?
Yeah.
So we kind of shifted a little bit. I want to develop an app now that's digital based, and we're sort of on the way to doing that. Where I want to connect other local businesses together to create fun little itineraries for people that might want to be doing something different in local regions that aren't.
Yep.
Yeah. Sort of standard visit a winery and.
Yep.
And
so you have an app, and people put their, I guess, programs or whatever, or.
So what I'll do is I might do some themed itineraries based on different themes to suit different demographics.
Yep.
That are fun, have a bit of nature connection, a bit of adventure, but also a bit of local, touching other local businesses and cuisines or cafes or whatever. So, I've got a few different ways I'm looking at doing that, whether it's just people pay all inclusive and everything's free for them. So they'll go somewhere and pick up a coffee and then go do a hike or whatever, and then do something else.
Yep.
Or whether I get businesses to advertise and be paid to be part of the itinerary And
Yeah, I was going to say, so what's
go.
the revenue stream? Like,
Yeah, it could be one of two ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it could be either I do deals with businesses to get a wholesale rate at their items or services that they provide.
Yeah.
I package them up and sell them to customers.
Yeah.
At a sort of a margin.
Yep.
Or it's cheaper for the customer, and they're just paying for an itinerary, and then businesses can pay me to be part of that itinerary.
Yeah.
So like a subscription based thing.
Yeah.
So it might be a
$20
so
you'll be building all the programs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But there are some white collar apps already for this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Internationally, there's a few in Europe.
Yeah.
That I've touched base with, and we can rebrand to my business, and I can build them. There's kind of like a platform that I can create an itinerary for people, including interactive maps and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's all branded as me.
So how far are you along?
I sort of got the core of it all there.
Well, this sounds like this could be the thing that you do while you're on the camera.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because I think it's going to be so universal. Like if we're traveling around, I can open up new regions everywhere we go. I can spend a bit of time. And if it's a tourist region and it's a regional spot where I really want to keep it to regional spots that are heavy tourist visitors, then I think as we're traveling, we can just create itineraries as we go. And
have you thought about the marketing for this or anything, or just building the product at this stage?
Just building products. I mean, part of the tourism is a bit of a tourism board in SA that are pretty helpful, and they've got great avenues where you can advertise, and some of the booking platforms as well.
Yep.
Reach. So one of the booking platforms called Resdy that reaches like you put a tour or something on there, it goes out to like 200 different sites. So you get good reach by using those platforms, even though they cost money.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's lots of different ways to get out there. Also, just like your local tourists, visitor centers and that, they're pretty good. Yeah, I mean, that's on the way. I'm just back doing my trade, doing a little carpentry business at the moment, just to get the funds to actually launch this out. So just need a bit more money, and that'll be a go, I think.
Any interesting travel stories before we wrap up?
What do you want to hear about?
I don't know.
Near-death experience.
I don't know how much I can say. Have you got any near-death experience? Yeah. No, it's not. It's very explicit.
I don't know. I'm not keeping them off air.
Yeah. What are you near-death? Where were you going with that?
Not near. I don't have any really near-death experiences, but sometimes where you're in a situation where you think might go a different way.
Yeah. Leave it at that.
Yeah, leave it at that.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up?
No, so you don't really have any plans for yourself for another adventure or another challenge?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm 2 weeks off the Ironman, right? So I'm
still fresh.
Yeah, I'm still tired. I'm still hammered, so I'm still recovering. As far as adventures, not really. I've got a lot of travel booked in for 2025. We're going in the snow together. That'll be good.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I was thinking we should do if we can organise it with the girls, we should do like a multi-day. There's a hike that you do in summer that's like Mount Hotham to Mount Falls, and it's like you can do it at day. It's like 40 k's.
Yeah,
but in winter it's wild because it's like full of snow, and that's why.
We
should snowshoe it, or
you make a good point. I don't really have any adventures in the calendar. Let's do it. When's that? December.
Near where we're staying.
Oh, you're talking about doing that after or during or something?
Just during the trip, or
how long is that?
Oh, we could probably do it in a night, like a day and a night, and then, or even I don't know. We'll just do something where you have to go heaps on a camp and
let's do it.
Find a way back.
We can come back on here and talk about our near-death experiences.
Yeah, good. Caught in an avalanche.
One thing I ask everybody before we wrap up is, what does success mean to you?
I think it's, I don't know if it's really much as a sense of achievement, but just a fulfilled life, man. Like, doing, like, chasing the things that I actually want to go for instead of just saying going for them, Trying things just to see how they are,
can you narrow that down to not being afraid to do what you want to do? Is that what you get?
I think so. Yeah, just having the courage to go for it.
Yeah.
A lot of procrastination.
What do you think gives you the courage to go for it? Because you're someone who does, and you're always doing crazy shit. Do you think it comes
I think
from
it comes
the
from
fear?
fear, man. I think
Yeah.
it really does come from fear of looking back at something and not have done it.
Yeah, I think we've both got
Yeah,
that bug.
and
It's like you
it's-
look at some people who just do nothing, and you go, like,
Do it.
yeah, where's your fear of death? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I think that's what's driving me at the moment. Actually, especially since the birth of OC, is like that fear of not for something that you really want to do, right? Because I feel like we've both got trades behind us, right? If
Yep.
things go to shit, like the worst case scenario is we go back on the tools on our trade. Like that's not the end of the.
Yeah, well, and that's something that I need to think about more because, like, yeah, realistically, there's a huge trade shortage for what I do. So, what's the absolute worst case
Yeah.
scenario?
Yeah,
You know, I've got to go get a high paid job in the mines.
Yeah,
You know, oh shit.
Yeah,
That's a good
that's
point.
the way I
Actually,
look at it, man. Because what can really, things can go wrong. You can get setbacks and you can have failures, but we're not that old. Like,
yeah,
it's not going to ruin us for the rest of our life.
yeah.
go to
I
something
think
different.
that's also why I started the podcast. I mean, there was such a fear of like everybody's going to think I'm a wanker, but it's just something, I don't know, something I've just been so curious about doing, and I really enjoy having conversations like this. I want to try to get more and more interesting people. I'm not saying that this is not the pinnacle because it absolutely is the pinnacle. I don't know where I'm going to go from here, but I love having, because you don't really get the opportunity, like as much as we catch up and stuff like that, like you don't really get the opportunity to have actually conversations like this.
That's it. When
It's a different dynamic.
When we catch up, it's families and
Yeah.
chasing kids around, isn't it? It's like
Yeah,
hard to
exactly.
get,
Yeah.
like all our mates, we don't really know what's going on in their lives a lot.
Nah.
Yeah. Good to have a chat, man.
Cool. Appreciate you coming on.
No worries. Do it again.
Bloody oath.